need in this part of the field versus this part of the field. I mean, if you've seen them, you know, things are more and more technical. So the book argues, get ready, guys. The technical fields are the ones that you're going to have to get into, and we do have a problem because in the bell curve, what we can see is that certain groups of people are below C average, you know, and those folks aren't going to do well, you know. How can we prepare for this? So it's kind of an alarm. You know, things are going to get really tough for people if we don't do something about improving individuals' parental socioeconomic status. Says so right there. Etc. And just to continue on with this, if you think about Charles Murray and his other books, he's really continued this theme in his working. You know, Losing Ground was actually the first book that was done for a government study to try to figure out how social welfare programs can be used, and the concern was that they actually seemed to hurt society as a whole. That convinced the Clinton administration to try to change social policies. It did, and I think Wisconsin was like one of the states that especially was, you know, trying to react to that, and did pretty well. Yeah, I mean, it's not like you can really fix the problem, but you know, there's better and worse ways of dealing with that kind of thing. But Coming Apart was all about. And the interesting thing about Coming Apart was he just talked about white individuals, because the bell curve got him in so much trouble over race, even though clearly the people that were mad at him about it misunderstood the book, which infuriates me. You know, 'cause
was he going after, he said he's a political scientist, was he going after data? Like using actual data?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Really. Yeah, I mean, of course, you know, what they say, you know, 48% of all statistics are made up on the spot.
Right.
It's actually more, up to 98% now. Sorry. No, but yeah, of course, you know, how do you interpret the data? Famous joke is the statistician that drowned in the river that was only an average 2 feet deep. It's a joke. Okay. But so this book, instead of getting in trouble with everybody over their misinterpretation of what he was trying to say about race, he just focused on two communities that were both Caucasian and compared them. This community, Fishtown in Philadelphia, was an absolute disaster at the time that he focused on it. And the other one was what he called a super zip, Westchester County in New York, actually. But the idea was the super zips, everybody, you know, has a terrific education, they have terrific jobs, they make lots of money, they have their children, they stay married. Notice he got divorced. But they, you know, so they have all these things, and so basically the main things for successful communities is that everybody gets married and stays married. Everybody is industrious. Everybody is honest. And everybody goes to church. It doesn't matter which church you go to, but you go to a church at least once a week, and that draws you into the community, so that you have obligations to the community. And those are the four main things that keep people going. By the way, I'm proud to say that Fishtown in Philadelphia has recovered and is doing very well, actually. But that's because the developers moved in, kicked out all the poor people, and basically revamped all, so there you go. It didn't actually solve the problems for people, it solved the problems for Fishtown. So, yeah, he's been in trouble with students who misunderstand him. They think he's too conservative, basically. But so, yes, I think he's fascinating. Thanks for bringing up that question before class got started, so that I had to go 10 minutes into class.
I could have, next time I'll cut you off, I'll be like, hey, prof.
It's good stuff. That's good stuff.
Huh?
But I do have to start talking about Immanuel Kant, because when we last left this scene, and actually I was going to play prior to class a little bit of a movie. There's a hilarious movie out there. I'll at least let you know. I think I have the link. Oh, there's the book. I wanted the movie. It's in French. So if you're interested, it's on the web. You could watch the last days of Immanuel Kant. This was what I was looking at. During the weekend, we had the philosophy conference, and one of the students pointed out that he had heard that Kant wrapped himself up in a cocoon like bedclothes before he went to bed. And I told him, yes, in the French movie, they actually depict him doing this. So, for your watching pleasure, here's the scene where he gets ready for bed. It's supposed to be historically accurate, so. There is sound. Part of it is at the moment he's actually not making any sound again. That would drive me crazy, trying to sleep like that. But so if it's a really boring movie. It's an old French movie, so it has subtitles, but. That's just funny. Not a whole lot of philosophical interest. It's more about his kind of life. But so I wanted to pick up with where we left off, which was the problem that David Hume left him, the critique of metaphysics, and the idea as Kant interprets it, that you cannot have a synthetic a priori. Remember, I drew there was 4 possible situations. You had the a priori and the a posteriori, the before and the after. And you have the analytic, which is essentially the universal, and you have the synthetic, which is really the particular. So the particular, we've always had this, since Aristotle, we've had this kind of quadrivium of things, the all S is P, no S is P, some S is P, some S is not P, right? Thank you. But in any case, it seems like what philosophy is intending to do is give us the grounds for why we can experience things, explain why our experience is a certain way. And David Hume, by pointing out that if you're an empiricist, the only thing you really know for sure is the experience you're having at this moment. And you can't extend to, this, to explain why it is that our experience works this way, or why we're going to have this kind of experience. What's happening next? Well, in a sense, it's all surprise. And the best thing to be is skeptical about everything. Remember, David Hume isn't really an idiot. He's actually a very practical person, and his main critique of all of that were the philosophers that thought that they could demonstrate. what's the case. Well, along comes Kant to respond to David Hume by finding the synthetic a priori. What is it? And so he's going to come up with really what's a fantastic solution. He takes the categories that Aristotle gives us, right? If we remember categories, I'll go to pick the 10, right? You know, substance, quantity, quality, relation, place, time, position, everything is in these different categories. So when we're studying things, these are the categories that we're trying to figure out. You know, when you know something about something, what you know are its place in these categories, where it is, what it is, how it got there, you know, all those kinds of things. That's what knowledge is all about. But the problem, of course, is that, well, thanks to Hume and that whole history that led to Hume, it seems like we can't know anything about all of the characteristics of the thing in itself. And if you're at a cocktail party, the phrase that most closely associates your understanding with Kant, so when someone mentions, oh, Immanuel Kant, is it an E or an I? It's an I. You can say, oh yes, das Ding an sich, which is the thing in itself, auf Deutsch. Right? So that's and emphasize the sich, you know, get that, you know, das Ding an sich, you know, get it really German-like, you know, and that's cool. It is. It's just fun. But the trouble, of course, is you can't see the thing in itself. We actually got that from John Locke, and that's what brings up the problem of empiricism. We only see or feel or sense the phenomenal experience, the way it appears to us. Remember the word phenomena is a Greek word that comes from lamp. I carry a lamp with me, the phene, and what I'm seeing in the dark room is only what my lamp lights up for me. So I'm the source of the incoming information, me carrying the lamp, right? I'm not seeing the way the world is, I'm seeing the way it lights up because my lamp is informing me of this, right? So I can't understand the thing as it is in itself, das Ding an sich. I can't actually do that. All I can do is understand things as they appear to me. And I'm pretty sure that this is all commonsensical for Americans today. Yeah, I see it the way I see it. You see it the way you see it. That's pretty much the way we talk. We do still feel like there's actually things out there and we're each getting our own impressions of them, but they're really there. So in a sense, that's why I argue that that's kind of a John Locke point of view. You know, that's really more his. But here's what Kant does that is what he calls a Copernican revolution in thought. And remember, it's just the opposite, really, of Copernicus. And that is that these categories of understanding that we have, let's go Kant. And there's actually 12. Because he's German. But they're basically the same. You have to examine them to figure out where you get 12 out of 10. But the thing is, you end up realizing that the reason we apply these categories to things isn't because they're categories of the thing in itself. They're instead the categories that all human thinkers frame their experience in. So this is the way the human mind frames experience. It's not that they're part of the real world. It's how our minds enable us to think. So we see things, number one, everything we experience in time. Everything feels like time is moving, that, time is elapsing for all of us. Even if we're sitting still and just enjoying the birds or something. Yesterday I went, it was members night at the Outpost, the Bass Pro Shop, and I've got like $80 worth of free points, that I need to spend. So we went, we looked around, and the trouble is everything I would be interested in, I already got, so it's frustrating. But I sat down in a couple of those nice camping chairs, man, they're so comfortable. I sat down and I thought, I don't want to get up. I'm just going to stay here. Well, here I am, just sitting there, enjoying myself, looking at the fish in the fish tank. Time was elapsing. And I realized, well, my daughter, who's also shopping, I better get up, and go find her, and then we can leave. Because the dog was in the car. You can bring the dog in there, by the way, and they actually like it. And St. Bernards really get along good with lots of people, so it's fun to bring in a St. Bernard. But
Is the St. Bernard yours? Is it, or your daughter's dog?
officially, my other daughter was the one who bought the dog,
Oh, okay.
but then she leaves it with me.
Oh.
So basically it's my dog, our dog.
How big is he?
She is about
she-
133 pounds the last time we successfully weighed her.
Oh, wow. Is she still growing?
Well, we've been trying to put her on a diet.
Oh. How old is she?
7.
My husband and I just got a St. Bernard, that's what I was wondering. He's 4 months old and he's already over 50 pounds, so.
Be prepared.
Yeah. I know.
I have one. She's here.
Really?
But they're wonderful.
Yeah.
But, do get used to hair
Yes.
It gets all over.
and slobber and, yeah. And sore feet. Sore feet. Because
Yeah, that's true.
how did we get on to dogs?
Bass
Talk
Pro.
about time.
Bass Pro. But so, yeah, time elapses. There's no experience we can have where we don't feel time is elapsing. By the way, it does seem like time sometimes speeds up and slows down. And, how would Sir Isaac Newton have explained that? Well, he couldn't, because he was of the opinion that time was universal. It's just clicking away in some sort of universal clock. Thank you, Kant. We realize that everybody has their own personal experience of time, and that sometimes it feels like time is zipping along. You're having a good time and it's over. And other times you're sitting in philosophy class and you're thinking, when is he going to shut up? So sometimes time seems slow, it's crawling, and other times it's, what? I just got here. It is. It's very individual. And it's actually your projection of time. It's not, for Kant, it's not like there may very well be some kind of a universal time, like a quartz crystal beating out, whatever. But what we experience is our projection of time from our mind, right? Then he says space. Not everything takes up space. An awful lot of the things that we think about are, don't have shape. But if you think of something as having shape, then it takes up space. And you can't imagine. But a neat thing, he says, is that, if you, and he uses an orange, but, hey, I've got an orange thing here. I don't know what it is. This is a dental device. Well, but it's orange, you know? Now, if you notice, here's this orange thing. Focus on this spot. Now, keep your focus on this spot while I take this away, right? Notice that the spot is still there. Did that work? Did I do that okay? In other words, the space is just like time. It comes from our mind.